Mobile is a great place. We've got a lot of economic opportunity. We've worked very hard to get that done. But now it's time for us to incentivize neighborhoods. We talk about not having affordable housing stock, where there's a lot of blight in Mobile. I want to see a lot of that historic housing revitalized. And there's a lot of history here in Mobile. Only around Mardi Gras do we start saying, we're the birthplace of Mardi Gras. Well, you need to come to Mobile. Just like in New Orleans, you can go to New Orleans in July and you feel like you're at Mardi Gras. We need to change a lifestyle change here in Mobile.
Welcome in, everybody. We may have started without you. I don't know. That's Alabama Politics This Week. I'm Josh Moon. That is
David Person.
I'm telling you, man, we can make a lot of money if we just sold the stuff that is said before we're actually recording this thing. I mean, of course, we'd never be able to work anywhere else again, but I mean, it would. This place. Hey, we got a good one. Representative for now, mayor for later, Barbara Drummond's going to join us to talk about things going on in Mobile. You'll want to hear that. She's really fantastic. She's really really is. I mean, she's got great ideas. She knows, she's knowledgeable. She understands the people and the problems better than anybody. And it just, I mean, she's really, really good. You want to hear it.
I love her vision, man. I love her vision.
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. She's a smart lady, and she has an understanding of what is taking place in that city and what needs to be addressed. And I can't imagine that there's anybody better out there. Certainly not in the race that she's in. So,
right.
Before we get in, though, to the Space Force, Space Command, and all things that are coming to Huntsville with apparently 300,000 or so new jobs. And, listen, we're going to get to call it the Rocket City. Woo!
I know. Right. What a great idea, right?
I know, right? New
Somebody should have thought of that.
Why it was sitting right there for us. Why did we not think of that? I just don't get it. Before we do that, though, we need to tell you about our friends at Wind Creek Entertainment that help us put this fine podcast on. They are our primary sponsors, not our only one, but our primary sponsor, and we so much appreciate them for what they do and how they do it, and the great things they do for not just a lowly little podcast, but also for the rest of the state. And they do a ton. Look at all of the stories and things that we see all the time from them about the donations and about the different stuff that are going on, the businesses that they operate. The Porch Creek Indians have been really, really fantastic for this state, and we appreciate what they do here. If you would, go and check them out at their 3 resorts. Check out one of the 3 resorts that they have in this state, in Atmore, Wetumpka, and Montgomery. The Wetumpka and Atmore locations are the grand resorts. The one in Atmore especially, that's on the reservation down there, and it is a fantastic spot. Stayed in it a few months back, and man, it is awesome. It is really, really awesome place. And, they've got, of course they've got the games, they've got the electronic bingo games in and with all the bells and whistles, and they do a fantastic job displaying those and with all the, the games that they have. But in addition to that, you go and stay. People think, well, just going to a casino, we're not taking the family to a place like that. Oh, listen, they've got things for the family. At the one in Atmore, if you're headed to the beach, you want to stop and stay in Atmore and break up the trip a little bit. They've got the bowling alley. They've got the movie theater. They've got the kids' big arcade down there. They've got restaurants. They've got spas. They've got a pool area. There's probably going to be some entertainment going on if you're going on the weekend. So look it up. Look them up online at Wind Creek Entertainment. Book you a stay at one of these places. Football season, I tell people all the time, if you're going and you're gonna have to stay in Montgomery, because God knows you're not going to pay those hotel prices over in Auburn. So if you're gonna go, you're probably going to stay in Montgomery or in that area. Stay in Wetumpka. It's right around the corner. It's right there. You can stay in a very, very nice place. Stay there. Enjoy your day. Go to the bar. Go to the sports bar down there and watch the games and have a good time. All right. Look them up online, Wind Creek Entertainment. Book a stay. You will not regret it. I guarantee you that. Let's talk a little bit about Space Force.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and I'll tell you my take on this, and it may be a little different from many people. I don't know, but and then you can tell me how wrong I am, or you could, like normal, say, Josh, you're so right. I just it's This is, Trump announced that Space Forces, Space Command is coming to Huntsville. It's going to be moved. It's going to be the permanent home until, 3 years from now when the Democrat that's elected moves it, I guess.
Yeah.
Listen, this is where it belongs. This is where it belongs. It did not belong in Colorado. I understand why it started there. I understand all that. And the simple fact is it belonged in Huntsville. It belonged in Huntsville at Redstone Arsenal. This is not an opinion. This is not something that I just dreamed up. I went back and read the documents and the studies handled by the military over and over in both administrations said that Huntsville was the appropriate place for this. It saved money. It had better access. It had better facilities. It had room to grow. It had all of the things that they looked at as the necessary components of this. And it said Huntsville. There was never a study that said Colorado was the place for this. Never. I thought Joe Biden was wrong for doing the whole Colorado thing. I understand the politics of it. I understand some of the reasons outside of the simple military on paper reasons that he used to justify that. I thought it was the wrong decision. I thought it was a punitive act in some measure for Trump and for Tommy Tuberville. We've talked about this before, and the way Tuberville acted and held up the military promotions. I think that played a role in what took place. I think the way that people responded, to the whole Trump deal, I think that played a role. I just felt my point has always been to leave the military alone when it comes to politics, and that continues to be my point on things like this. Listen, I get that politics is going to play a role when we're talking about, like, for example, the abortion issue that Tuberville got himself involved in. I get that sometimes those things, because we're dealing with people, and so the policies that we create in these states and things, they're going to impact the people that are part of the military. I get that point. All right. I'm not an idiot. But when it comes to decisions like this, I feel like the military should be treated as something above the petty politics that we play every day. And if you have studies saying that this is what's best for these men and women who we've asked to sacrifice potentially their lives, then you owe it to them to not do political shit with their stuff. Okay. And to make the best decisions and to stop worrying about who did what to who in the Senate or the House or the former president or this president or whatever. You owe it to all of those people who have devoted their lives to this mission of keeping the country safe, that you owe it to them to do the right thing. You let the facts fall wherever they may, and you do that. And I feel like, I'm not saying that all Trump did that, but he happens to be on the right side of this just because he wanted it to be in Alabama. And all the studies said it should be here. And I felt like all along they should have just left it in Alabama.
Well, let me first start by saying, starting with what you just said, left it in Alabama. As I did my research on this, it was never clear to me that it was ever here. The first, as far as I can tell, the first iteration of Space Command was the temporary establishment of it in Colorado. So when people say, we're bringing it back to Alabama, I question that. It doesn't seem, unless I missed something in reading the news coverage, I didn't see where it had ever been here. I understand that the Trump administration made a decision to locate it here at the end of Trump's first term, but it wasn't enacted, as far as I can tell, until the Biden administration. And the Biden administration, whether we agree with the decision or not, decided to establish it in Colorado.
It was put in Colorado just because that's where the Air Force was, and so it was always meant to be temporary.
I'm saying, all I'm talking about is where it was. It never was here, and people say we're bringing it back, but it never was here. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Point number one. Point number two, you talked about keeping politics out of it. And Trump made it crystal clear yesterday, or what day was it? It was Wednesday of this week, that his reason for doing it was political. He feels that mail-in voting is corrupt. He feels, which sounds really ridiculous because, mail-in voting is in the very state that he calls home, which is Florida. At least it was in the last election. But anyway, he claims mail-in voting is corrupt. And so he's mad at Colorado. And so he decided that, and because it's a blue state, that he wanted to snatch it and put it where he's got support. And his reasoning, regardless of whatever the military is saying, his reasoning for doing it is political.
Oh, yeah.
Which leads me then to the third point, which is, Trump is making a political decision, not one based, as far as I can tell, based on what he himself has said, not based on studies or based on what the military has previously said, but for political reasons. And so my final question is, what is that political decision going to cost the people of this country in terms of financially, as well as logistically, and in terms of readiness to whatever degree this space command is needed? I understand that the Redstone Arsenal folks are saying, well, we can have it up and running before Trump's term ends, but is that really good enough? So I have some questions. I don't disagree with you that it should have been here, but my problem is that it wasn't here. And so consequently, what is it going to cost us, for it to come here with Trump making this overtly political decision?
No, listen, and that's what I said at the end. When I said, listen, I'm not trying to tell you that Trump is staying out of the politics of this. He's clearly not. He based it on the stupid mail-in voting thing that he said, or at least that's what he brought up at the press conference when people asked him why they were making the move.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I mean, but he's a moron. Okay. And we all know he's a moron. And that's,
true, true.
And he's a transactional person and president has been forever. And so, listen, all of that is, like I said, the fact that he made this decision, it just happened to be right. Okay, it just happened to be the right one. It's not that he did it for the right reasons or he's a genius because he did it or we should be thanking him for his reasoning on this. No, we absolutely should not. He's a moron who happened, a broken clock is right twice a day. And this is one of the twice a days for Trump. I mean, I'm not sure that he actually right twice a day, but in this case, he was right because the studies all showed that this was right. And it's not going to cost us money to move it here. It's actually going to save us over $500 million over the next 10 years to move it to Huntsville. And that's in addition to the growth potential of the program at Redstone Arsenal because of.
Well, how could it not cost us money to move it here?
Because what was going to have to take place in Colorado, they don't have the facilities. So they were going to have to build out facilities to make the Space Command work. So what's been happening right now is they were functional as Space Command, but they were not what they call optimal functioning, I think was the term that was used and all. Listen, this is one of the things I went down a rabbit hole on one night. All right. And I read the damn reports. I read all these reports about this. This was not recent, so I had to look up the story that I wrote about it a few months back when I criticized the Biden administration back when they made this decision. Because, it's pretty staggering that they tried to justify this decision, really. I mean, even I'll tell you how bad it is, Dave. Even when they were up and running in Colorado, okay, and they could have been at capacity, at their maximum capacity, it would have still saved us more than $1 billion at that time to simply move it to Huntsville and do nothing. If they had stopped at the time that Biden made that decision, it would have saved us more than $1 billion. And so now it's good because they've built out some things in Colorado and done some other things. It's going to save us at least $500 million over the course of the next 10 years to not have to do these things out in Colorado and acquire the property and do the build out there. In Huntsville, you already have the space and most of the facilities that are needed. And so that's the reason why one of the major reasons why Huntsville was a primary choice. In addition to that, they also lacked the facilities for the staff in Colorado, and it was going to put those people in a terrible state. Some of them were going to have to commute an hour or more into work because they did not have the facilities to house them. And that was another expense that we were going to have in trying to come up with housing and stuff for these people who were going to work there. I mean, listen, Dave, when you put 30,000 people, or 1,600
or 3,000. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
1,600, I think is the actual number that it's going to be.
Yeah,
But
heard
it's,
different numbers. Yeah.
you just make them up. Why not make them up, And so that's what I'm saying.
Well,
This guy's, he's a moron.
yeah.
And but he just, in this particular case, the moron fell down and found a penny.
Well,
Okay?
let me ask you this: I wonder about whether or not people are factoring in, because the Colorado congressional delegation is not taking this lying down. They plan to take legal action to try to block this. So I wonder what is going to happen there in terms of, again, the costs that the American people are going to incur as a result of what they're going to do. And will it even though Trump is saying this is going to happen, what happens if they prevail legally? I mean, this thing is not, I don't know that it's and I don't blame the people of Colorado for pushing back because it's there. Yeah. I'm not saying, I wish that it had been moved here originally, but it didn't happen, and so now, we're trying to undo this situation. And I just think it's going to we're creating further problems. That's what I think.
Listen, the way it's been handled from both sides, and including yesterday, creates a number of issues. Okay. And this is the Trump MO. This is what happens when you elect a moron as your president. The moron runs around. It's like, the John Mulaney joke about there being a horse loose in a hospital. This is the horse loose in the hospital. Part of Trump being, president here is the horse breaks things and does dumb things. And you have no idea what to expect from the horse in the hospital because there's never been a horse in a hospital. And so, this is what he does. He creates these issues where there should not be issues. And I'm actually writing a column that for tomorrow, which we're recording on Thursday. So it'll be Friday's column about this and how he does this all the time, and how even his good ideas are sullied by his stupidity and his vindictiveness and his transactional issues as president. Yeah. For example, one of the examples of using the column is, right now, we had a guy who he's a big Republican donor, runs a cabinet business in this state, is donated a lot to, I believe, to 1819 folks and, all that. It's Wellborn Cabinets here. And Wellborn wrote a piece that we published in APR about trying to protect the American cabinet industry because it has been so harmed by the influx of cabinetry from China. All right. Cheap cabinetry coming in from China. And the tariffs and things as a means to aid that. He's 100% right. We should be doing things in America to protect the industries that we have here and the American people that we have here that are doing business and doing things. That is 100% right. It's 100% accurate to say that. The problem is the stupid way that our president has gone about this is not the way that's going to protect consumers or the American people. And instead, right. I mean, you get the rah, nationalism, which is I get it. I'm all for Americans and for Americans doing well. But I mean, at the same time, what you're doing is idiotic because it's punishing the consumers. It's hurting the American businesses even more. And when you could incentivize the productions, you could incentivize American taxpayers to purchase those things, thus lowering the costs for both parties, incentivize the selling of materials and creation of materials in this country that leads to cheaper cabinetry for everybody, increases the sales of the folks that produce the products that make the cabinets, and all of a sudden everybody's winning out of this thing, which is what we're supposed to be doing. A lot of winning. Everybody remember that when we were going to win all the time.
We're supposed to be winning all the time. Yeah.
But this here is also a part of that. We've taken what should have been an easy decision to walk into the room in front of a bunch of cameras and say, Here is this report from 21. Here is this report from 22. Here's another one from 22. Here's another one from 23. Here's another one from 23. Here's the most recent report. All of these reports, not a single report said, even after they were up and running, not a single report said that Colorado was a better location. They never won on a single mark. Never on a single, whatever judgment that they were making out of these things, whatever area that they were judging. Colorado never won. Never. The only thing that they had going for it was there at that point because it was the temporary location. But in terms of readiness, in terms of facilities, in terms of staff, in terms of the availability of land and expansion, in terms of access, in terms of housing for the folks, all of those things, Huntsville won all the time, every single time, and in the major category of where, if we're going to do all the same things at both locations, where is it cheaper? Huntsville was far and away the winner on the American taxpayer. And
all of that makes sense. Yeah, all of that makes sense. I think the only question we're facing is why. What is the impact of doing it now going to be, especially since I said Colorado's not going to take this lying down. They've made it clear. I mean, their whole congressional delegation, including Republicans, came out and said, we're going to fight this.
Yeah. So, well, good luck. I mean, as far as I know, you don't have anything on your side,
Well, I think what they got on their side is that it's there. Yeah. I mean, as the old saying says, possession is 9/10 of the law. So, they've got it. And I'm not saying that they should have gotten it. I agree with you on that. I think it should have come here for reasons that you didn't even state, including just the proximity to Marshall, and that's a world-class facility and all of that. So, it should have been here, but it's not. So the question is, what's the fallout going to be by getting into this situation that we're now?
Well, listen. I just think that that those folks have got an uphill battle. I do know, just looking at the most recent study that was done, and that was right at the end of the Biden administration, and it then said, even with it running at the capacity that it's running at now, which they said was operational. It was an operational program at that point. Space Command was an operational program. Even at that point, it would save us over $500 million to move it to Huntsville. And so, that just, again, that kind of goes back into the, savings that they were going to have in terms of facilities and things like that. So, but, I just think it gets ruined because of this stupidity. The rest of the people, I thought Katie Britt was fine in what she said. Even Tommy Tuberville was fine in what he said, and Tommy Tuberville had a nice joke about Auburn winning the football game. I thought everybody else handled things okay, and then this blundering oaf who everybody thought was dead a few days ago comes rolling in from the grave and says, oh, we're going to do it because I got mail-in voting. Mail-in voting. We didn't like it. It's just, shut up.
And
man.
Also had to make it about him throwing in, I won Alabama by 47 points, but who's count? But nobody's keeping track of that, right?
Love the people of Alabama.
So sick and tired of him injecting himself into everything has to be about him. It's just sickening.
He's a narcissist, man. That's how they roll.
Yeah, you're right. It's what narcissists do. You're right.
Yeah, the whole show, and it's a typical Trump show. Honest to God, when you watch these things go down, at a point every single time. Let me ask you this, and we'll get out after this and get Barbara Drummond in here. But when you watch these things, obviously you have the anger, and you just the roll. You roll your eyes like I do. Mine have rolled so far; they've just rolled around and backwards in my head at times. But do you at sometimes? Because I do it all the time. I stop and think, how the hell is this guy the leader of this cult of people that, you know what I'm saying? And I go back to I used to watch The Apprentice. I watched him yell at Gene Simmons and, Kid Rock or whoever the hell else was on that show. And I just think, how the hell is this guy? How is this your guy? You know what I mean? How is this your guy?
I just think there's been, and I'm going to be very blunt and specific here. I think the Republican Party has experienced a horrendous decline in the quality of their presidential selections. I didn't agree with Ronald Reagan's politics, but doggone it, Ronald Reagan presented himself in a very presidential way. he comported himself in a way that was absolutely consistent with the presidency, even though he may have blundered, sometimes with stuff he was saying, or we caught him falling asleep at meetings. But just when he got up to speak, he sounded like a president, and he acted, he seemed to know what he was talking about. George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, pretty much the same thing. George W. Bush, a little folksy, a little more goofy, everyday man kind of guy, but had a certain kind of charisma to him, But this guy, he's fueled by venom and spite and vengeance, and it's all very, like you said, narcissistic. Everything it has to start with him and end with him. And that's the only way he seems to see relevance. And the only deviation from that, was when Elon Musk was on the scene.
Yeah.
And that's only because even he had to concede, this guy's richer than I am.
There's one other now.
Was there another one?
Yeah, there's one other.
Who's the other
Vladimir Putin shows up.
Oh yeah, well, that's.
Him on the runway clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
It's terrible, and
that's very true. Yeah.
No, I think it's Bo Burnham, the comedian Bo Burnham that has a bit about Donald Trump, and he just says, we're talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump. We're talking about Donald Trump, and it's,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel the same way. I just cannot, I'll never be able to wrap my head around this era in American government and American history. And
Very
it
weird.
just it's the
Very
stupidest of times. It really is. It's the stupidest of times. So, all righty, let's get out of here and we'll get a smart person in. Barbara Drummond is going to join us. We'll be right back. It's Alabama Politics This Week, brought to you by Wind Creek Entertainment. All righty, welcome back. Alabama Politics This Week. Josh Moon, David Person, and we are happy now to be joined, as we always are, by Representative Barbara Drummond, who I'm pretty sure this is the last time that we're going to have Representative Barbara Drummond on, because the next time that we have her on, she will be mayor of Mobile, Barbara Drummond. The Lord willing, I guess we should say, but it looks good so far. Miss Drummond, it seems like things are breaking in your favor down there. First of all, thanks for joining us, but just if you can, talk a little bit about that mayoral race, and you came in first, headed into a runoff now. How do things look?
Well, first, I want to thank you all for this opportunity, and certainly thanking you for those blessings on what the 23rd will bring. I think that things are looking very good, because one thing about Team Drummond, we did not raise the dollars as our opponents did, but what we did do, we had a lot of hardworking volunteers who showed up and who got their feet on the ground. And so we were really grassroots, but I think it also signals that people are wanting politics to return back to people rather than politics or party.
Yeah. No, I kind of got that feeling as well from down there. And I'll say, I feel like a lot of people took your win, and I'm going to call it a win, because you did come in first in the race with down there, the primary race, the mayoral race, but before the runoff. And I think they took it as a bit of a surprise, and maybe that's a surprise that people are not understanding that there has been a bit of a shift, I think, even in the state of Alabama, to away from the political stuff, away from the partisan things to a certain extent, and they're more focused on people who have their best interest at heart. And I think that's you in this race. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, but I also think that here in Mobile, I am somebody who most folks have known for a long time, because though being a legislator is my only first elected office, I've been in Mobile all my life. I was born and raised here, And Mobile is sort of in my DNA, and you guys know because you've interviewed me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When there's an issue that affects people, particularly people in Mobile, Barbara is going to fight very, very hard to make sure she gets that done. And I think people know that about me. And one of the things that we ran very strongly on is that this administration would create opportunities for all folks. We've got a lot of opportunities, and Mobile has a great future ahead of us from not only economic development. When you look at the deepening of our port here, our new airport that is coming online, we have a lot of economic opportunities. And one of the things that we keep talking about is that we want to make sure that everybody is afforded those opportunities so that they can thrive. Like many places in Alabama, we have the same problem, youth violence. And I tell people, because that's the number one issue, I look at it a little different than most people. Yes, we need to ramp up our police department. I think that our police department needs to be retrained on how to deal with cultural issues as well as mental illness. But also, one of the big things that I want, and when I become mayor, I'm going to give a voice to young people, not just when we have a shooting or an incident, but we'll have a department that will deal with those issues facing young people, from workforce development to those nonprofits that are providing safe places like the Boys and Girls Club. And we're going to work with them so we can capture these young people who are in these horrific homes, because I can't go into the homes and dictate or legislate morality or good parenting skills, but I can create safe places for those youngsters to go and give them safe things to do. One of the things here in Mobile, we used to incentivize nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club to help young people. That appropriation has gone from about $1.2 million to about $300,000. And then we used to have 3 YMCAs in the city of Mobile. We're down to 1, and that one is teetering on closing. And those are nonprofits that offer safe options for our young people to have places to go and things to do so that they can thrive and make good decisions. So I think all of that goes hand in hand with public safety. And that's one of the things we're going to strive for. Mobile is a great place. We've got a lot of economic opportunity. We've worked very hard to get that done, but now it's time for us to incentivize neighborhoods. We talk about not having affordable housing stock, where there's a lot of blight in Mobile. I want to see a lot of that historic housing revitalized. And there's a lot of history here in Mobile. You know, only around Mardi Gras do we start saying we're the birthplace of Mardi Gras. Well, you need to come to Mobile, just like in New Orleans. You can go to New Orleans in July and you feel like you're in Mardi Gras. We need to change a lifestyle change here in Mobile.
Representative Drummond, and as Josh said, hopefully soon Mayor Drummond, you talked about creating a youth department, which I think is a great idea. But what I wonder is about the political realities of doing that. Do you believe that you will have the budget, the financial resources necessary to do that in light of the cuts that you just described? And do you also believe that you'll have the political capital to do this, working through your city council and the bureaucracy there in Mobile?
Well, I do, because when you look at, this is not my first introduction to city government. I was there in a previous mayor's. I was one of his executive directors, and I've had an opportunity to look at the city's budget. And I'm looking at it now, and the one that was just presented had a lot of different options of things that I feel that are very important, and hope the city council will say that we need to hold off until Team Drummond gets there. But I do think that it's all about priorities. And right now, public safety is a priority in our city. And when you look at where those crimes are being committed and who's committing them, it's young people. So it's time for us to make them a priority. If we don't put any money into them, how can we expect the best out of them? We can't hold the school system responsible, because that's a whole nother political entity. It's got to start with the leadership of the city. And we're doing initiatives now during public safety, but it's only when you have a shooting or an incident We need to have our eyes on those neighborhoods where those children are coming out of very marginalized communities and start giving them safe options and safe things. It's been
Right.
done, David, before. Like I said before, once upon a time, the Boys and Girls Club received a larger appropriation from the city of Mobile. It is now
Right.
down to practically nothing. And we have an opportunity right now. We put a penny on in the previous administration that is creating about $58 million for the city's coffers. We've got to prioritize what is important to the people. That's why I think I am now in the lead, because I think folks now see that I have the people's heart in my
Yeah.
heart, that they
Well,
know
you
that
got
that's what I'm voting for.
I'm sure you have the people sold, and I know you've got me sold. So I don't need to be sold on it. The question is, do you have the political capital to do it? And will you be able to achieve getting the allocations restored or even extended?
Well, David, I tell people when they ask me if I can work with 7 council members, you all have had me on this show before. I work with 104 legislators, and I'm one of those individuals that work across the aisle. And I'm certain that I can work with 7 individuals, because I'm not trying to do anything that's going to be a detriment to the city. I am trying to embolden our next generation.
Got you. Okay. Let me ask you about, this is not a Mobile specific question, but it certainly is it's a question that reflects something happening in a neighboring area that potentially can have an impact on Mobile. And that's the 8 Mile situation in Pritchard with the Mercaptan leak and all that's going on there. You know, Pritchard may perhaps have also its first Black female mayor with Carletta Davis. Do you see any way that, or what are your thoughts? Let me just ask you this. What are your thoughts about the possible impact of that ongoing problem there in 8 Mile and Pritchard? What's the possible impact on Mobile? Maybe you know what it has been or what it could be. And do you think that you and a Mayor Carletta Davis could work together to solve that problem?
Well, that particular problem has been dominant to just Pritchard. It is not anything that has transcended over into Mobile. And, Mobile has a unique relationship with all of the utilities that work in Mobile, but that has been dominant to Mobile, and it's not very far away. But I do think that Pritchard is a city that also has potentials, and I am ready, because in order for this region to be healthy, we need all of the surrounding areas. Pritchard is sort of a suburb city of Mobile, and it has not been healthy for a long time. I know Pritchard well. My first reporting job was in the city of Pritchard. And so I have seen Pritchard go from a population of about 40,000. I think they're down to about 18,000 now. There are possibilities and there are opportunities out in Pritchard. And under the right leadership, those things can be realized. I think all of us, not just Mobile, I think all of the surrounding cities, it is in our best interest to make sure all of our cities are healthy so that we can make South Alabama healthy for the entire state of Alabama. But Mobile is the mecca of all of that. When you look at even Pritchard, most of his citizens work in Mobile.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the youth thing for just a second, because something you said there. I mean, when you described this kind of the situation, it brought me back to Montgomery and kind of some of the reporting I did when I was working at the Montgomery Advertiser and looking at that city. And it sounded almost identical. They had community centers where you're talking about YMCA's and stuff. They had several. I want to say 7 or 8 community centers. But when I arrived in Montgomery in the early 2000s, and by the time that I left, there was one. And then in addition to that, they had taken away stipends for youth sports. They had taken away stipends for a number of different programs that had gone on there. And then they wondered why we had an issue with youth not having anything to do. Why the kids roaming the streets? Well, you've taken away all the opportunity is the reason they're roaming the streets. And you're right. I don't understand, and maybe you can help me out. You've been in the legislature, you've been around the politics and in the cities a lot. I don't understand this punitive nature that has permeated so much of our society, especially in this deeply religious we're going to forgive everybody's state that we live in. Why do you feel like and how can you change and can you get to people to make them understand that while, yes, it's necessary to lock up criminals and to punish people for doing bad, that we must first address the underlying causes that do this? Is there a map to do that for you? I mean, do you feel confident enough that we can get this message across to people?
Well, we have to, because these are the very people who are moving outside of Mobile because of public safety. They said it's not safe to live in neighborhoods. When I started talking about Mobile and doing something for young people, it's part of the lifestyle change. I mean, we have a number of parks, and I think they're doing a good job, but parks have got to be a part of those safe places that are created for our young people. I mean, I've gone places, guys, and the park and that neighborhood with this lifestyle change, they become the mecca or the primary function that holds that neighborhood together. I was in Charleston not long ago, and in one park, there was a concert at the amphitheater, and on the other side, they were playing pickleball. But that was the drawing force for the neighborhood. Mobile is due for all of that. We've got to start creating those parks as the mecca that holds that neighborhood together. And we've got to start creating neighborhoods where we're going in and rehabbing all of the blight, because blight breeds crime. And that's why I said that this is an opportunity for all. We've got all this wonderful opportunities in Mobile, but there are some people who don't feel like they have an opportunity. First, they're not trained. We've got to look at workforce, and it has to start early, and it can't be something that's reactive. It's got to be something that we are being preventive ahead of the ball. And so I think we can do all of that. I mean, when I look at Mobile, and I have to say, young people who have volunteered on Team Drummond's campaign, they have asked me, they said, Ms. Drummond, what is there here for us to do? We can go to Dave and Buster or to Top Golf, but beyond that, and that costs money, what else are we going to do? We've got to start investing back into our young people, because that's our future. And if we don't do that, we'll have people continuously move outside of Mobile. That's been my big thing. And when they talk about housing stock, I feel we've got it. We've not incentivized our neighborhoods. We've not incentivized our story, our history. And many of the neighborhoods I'm talking about are historic neighborhoods. Whether it's Africatown, which has been documented internationally, that is a desire. I got off the phone a moment ago with one of the descendants. I want to build an international museum there that we can draw the world into Mobile. So create an ecotourism market that will help all of South Alabama, and that money can come back to the state. So that it's great opportunities here. We've focused a lot, and we've done a good job on bringing industry, but we did not do a good job on training our folks to take those jobs. And now we're doing that. We got the right ingredients. It's now time to go out and make sure it is followed through.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with everything that you said. I mean, it just, when you create those spaces, especially for the young people, I've told people, I used to go to those community centers, and you would see police officers in there playing basketball with the kids. You know what I mean? I mean, it just running up and down the floor on a Saturday, and that relationship is, I mean, there's nothing that can replace that, and it's just, and to have them there and to have those opportunities and to have the education system that, within the community centers or within whatever nonprofits that you have that are helping and guiding those folks in the right ways, it's immeasurable. And so I want to, before we close out and let you go, your opponent in this runoff, Spiro Chiriogatis, and I hope I always say his name correctly, but, I don't necessarily trust that he is a person that could do this. And I'll tell you why, is I go back to the stuff that he said about the incident that happened with his father. And if that is your viewpoint as a judge, I mean, that man was a judge, and if that is your viewpoint, and for anybody who's unfamiliar, I mean, there was an incident that occurred when he was a young boy. His father shot a man in the back and killed him, and then he just recently brought this up himself during an ad and made it seem like his father was the victim of this person, and and tried to play this as a victim issue for himself and his family. And I guess the family was innocent, and so they did suffer a bit with his father going to prison. But at the same time, to portray this man that who was shot in the back and died as the aggressor in these things, it was that sort of mindset. It leads me to believe that he's not the person who's going to have the compassion and the understanding of the society that he's trying to be the mayor of to do the things that's necessary. And I know that you've kind of stayed away from this, and so I'm not going to put you on the spot and talk about him specifically, but unless you want to, because if you want to, I'm happy to have you talk about him. But if not, that's understandable. But I guess maybe something along the lines of mindset, where your mindset differs from your opponent, and and why do you feel like you're the best person to get this job done?
Well, from day one, and I have to say, I'm not going to address that. I'll let the citizens of Mobile do that.
Sure.
One thing I can say that Spiro Cheragatis and I, as well as the others that were in this race, we ran a very clean campaign, and I made a vow to myself from the very beginning. I was not going to be throwing shade at anyone else in this campaign. I was going to run on who Barbara is. And when you ask me, people say, well, Barbara, what makes you different from the others? I've got the experience. I've got the experience in county government, city government, and of course, state government. And in my opinion, being mayor is passing the torch and building upon what the previous generation did, and to make it better, leave the city better than the way that you found it. And that is what's going to make me different. I am different because I am the most qualified in this race. I can take the rim. I tell folks on day one, nobody has to tell me where the bathrooms are in Government Plaza. I've been there, done that. I christened them. I was there when the building was built. So I've got the experience, I've got the know-how, and I've got the compassion, and I've got Mobile in my DNA. And we're going to win on September the 23rd. Team Drummond all the way.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Drummond, we do appreciate it. And listen, as soon as you win, we'll get you back on and change. We'll change the little tag down here. It'll no longer be Representative Drummond. It'll be Mayor Drummond, and we so look forward to it. And let me tell you this: no matter what, your ideas are the right ideas. And because they come from compassion
Solid.
for people. They're lifting from the bottom and trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I've told people a lot, you can address crime, but addressing crime also falls under this idea of helping the people not get into crime in the first place. Yeah, and
that's right.
So, but listen,
root causes.
Josh, we've got to. I went to one of our community meetings, and one of them, it just hurt my feelings. Someone stood up in this community meeting, and the council member said, "Did you call the police?" And the man said, "I don't call them. I will never call the police." We've got to restore the respect of public safety jobs, because those guys and gals are doing bang up jobs, but the respect is gone, and all of that's got to be restored. And that's why I say, because they're doing what their constitutional duties. We pass laws, they have to be the ones to enforce it. So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to September the 23rd, if nothing more but to go to sleep for a full night.
That's understandable. All right, thank you, Representative Drummond. We will we'll be pushing people your way, and hopefully September 23rd we'll have a fine new mayor of the city of Mobile. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you, and David, I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
All right, good to see you.
You too. All right, that is Representative Barbara Drummond. Get out and vote for her. You heard her. You heard what she said. Is there anybody better in that race? I don't think so. You know that. All right, let's slide out. We'll come back in just a minute. We'll wrap this thing up. It's Alabama Politics This Week. Back in a minute.
All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Alabama Politics This Week. Thanks to Barbara Drummond for coming on and spending some time. And she is, I mean, like I told you, she's a smart lady. And I mean, it just listening to those folks who've actually gone out and dealt with people at the ground level and understand the problems and have the compassion and the decency. Listen to them talk about the complicated issues that often go into crime and punishment in this country. And specifically in our major cities, it's always so refreshing to hear those ideas because they go far beyond the simple ideas of lock them up. You're gonna lock them up, and so it's always so nice to hear that, and God, I hope she comes out on top in that race because she is clearly the best choice. So,
and she brings something awesome to the table. Absolutely,
no doubt about that. Also, thanks to the folks at Wind Creek Entertainment for sponsoring this bad boy. We really do appreciate them. Thanks to the folks at SPLC as well, and for what they do, and for all of you who are following along, leaving us the ratings and reviews, and help pushing this bad boy up to the tops. Wherever we are, whatever chart you're looking at. All right, before we do the right-wing nut and get into the Epstein case, let me tell you a little story.
All right. Yeah, tell us the story,
little funny
Josh.
Story.
Uncle Josh, tell us a story.
Thank you. So the other day, I wrote a very nice Facebook post about a Republican, and the Republican who I praised was Barry Moore. Now, that might seem odd to you that I had praised Barry Moore because
it does.
It certainly would not seem as though the worldviews that Barry and I have would align in any way. And they do not. They do not. I think that most of Barry's ideas and statements are fairly idiotic and harmful. However, this where I praised him was as he showed up to a town hall that he had scheduled in Daphne, and the Democrats in Daphne and around the surrounding areas there had heard about this town hall that was coming up, and they infiltrated. And they showed up in droves with their signs, and were ready to give Barry hell. And they were in a nice little auditorium in Daphne. And Barry looked out and saw all of these people. And instead of heading out the back door, he went out in there and took their questions and talked to them for about 40 minutes. I felt like that was worthy of some praise in this day and age.
Sure.
That he did not turn and run. Now, listen, that's what he's supposed to do. I get that. Okay. If you say, well, that's what you're supposed to do. But yes, it is. But you know what? Not a lot of people are doing it. Not a lot of people, especially not a lot of Republicans these days are doing it. A lot of them are running. And as a matter of fact, in the little piece, this was just a Facebook post that I put up. And in that post, I called out a couple of those guys. One of them being Dale Strong, who the day before had run from some little old ladies outside of a church and escaped out the back and ran like a scalded dog away from these people. And I mean, I was honestly, I had police out front keeping them out of the church. I mean, it was probably 50 people. You know what I mean? About 50, maybe 75, who were going to go in and they were going to ask him some tough questions about what he had done or not done to protect the jobs in the community in which he was representing.
Now, you're talking about the one where they claimed it was a Republican women's. Is that the same one, or is this another one? It
was at this church over here. It was one of the churches in Madison, and he was supposed to be there, and they claimed it was a public event to begin with, and they had it up on Facebook as a public event, and you were just supposed to click the button to say that you were going, so they could judge how many people were there. So a lot of these folks, these Democrats, clicked the button saying they were going. Yeah. And then they showed up, and all of a sudden it's a private event, and it's
private Republican women's event.
Yeah, something like that. And so they kept them out. There was a lady who claimed that she was shoved by an off-duty police officer, and and just I listen. I don't know about all that, but I do know that Dale Strong ran away from him. So Tuesday, go to the mailbox at the house and. Open
Wait,
up the
they sent it to your house?
Oh, yeah. So I open up the mailbox, and inside is a letter from United States Congress, and with Dale Strong's signature on the outside of the envelope. And open it up, and it's a letter from Dale Strong, Dale Strong's office, I should say. And they just wanted to let me know that Dale Strong's staff will be having an event on September the 15th in Triana, in which I could come and share any grievances or ask any questions that I have, and they will get the answers to me. Now, this was somewhat of a form letter, but I didn't write to his office. I didn't write and ask anybody any questions. And maybe they went out to a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe they went to, I have no idea if it went out to everybody or if it just went to me.
I haven't gotten one, at least not yet.
Yeah, maybe it just had to do with maybe it just had something to do with me being, I'm in kind of Limestone County-ish area, and I assume I'm still in Limestone County. The way they change, who knows if I'm still in Limestone County today or not. But so maybe it had to do with this Triana thing down there, and maybe the two are unconnected. All right, but it just seemed odd. It seemed odd that I had got this letter at the same time that this thing was going
that
down.
Facebook post.
Yeah.
Well, are you going to go?
No, I'm not going. No, I don't want to talk to his staff. And this is the problem. This is the problem that people are having.
Uh-huh.
Don't send your poor staff folks out there to do this. These younger folks that are working in your office over here. I'm sure they're very nice, competent people. Okay. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're very nice, competent people trying to work their way up and just do a job, but you're throwing them in front of these. Go out and talk to people. This is the job.
So I guess I missed that because I was thinking that he was going to be there. So they're telling you up front, he's not going to be there, but his staff will be there.
Yeah. Yeah. His staff. It's a staff event. It's a staff situation where they're gonna meet me and let me know that what Dale can do about my problem, or they're gonna pass my problem on to Dale.
That does seem a little like the Cowardly Lion, to throw in a Wizard of Oz reference there.
Well, the whole thing is a Cowardly Lion situation. Honestly, man, just go out and do this. And I'll tell you the other reason why, and what I was doing was checking to make sure here that this was the case. The other reason why I suspect that this had something to do with what I had said is that it came just to me. It did not come to my wife, who is also a registered voter at this address.
Got it.
It just had my name.
So they probably did you tag him when you
No, but a guy who is a former Troy professor and longtime reporter was at the Decatur Daily for a while. He tagged him in it, and so I know, and some others tagged him in it.
Okay, so that's what
asking
happened.
specifically for a response from him about this.
Got it.
Listen, like I said, maybe it has nothing to do with that. Maybe it had something to do with something I'd said weeks ago or whatever. I don't know, but I do know this.
I think you're right. I think there's a correlation.
I'll say this: talk to the people. If they want to yell at you for 45 minutes, take 45 minutes out of your damn day and go and let them yell at you for a little while.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They're paying you bills. They're paying your salary. You are their representative. Listen to what they say. Listen to their concerns. Even if their concerns are stupid in your mind, in your eyes, listen to them, nod your head, actually try to have a conversation, converse with them, and then go about your business. Okay.
Yep.
Go about your business. This is the job. This is the job you signed up to do. Because it's hard doesn't mean that it's no longer your job. It is your job to listen to these people who are angry. And let me tell you something. Those people have every right to be angry. Some of the things that have happened to them. I know some of those people, and I know that some of those people have lost their jobs. Some of those people's kids have lost their jobs. Some of them have lost their health care or are going to lose their health care. Some of their health care has skyrocketed. Their prices have skyrocketed over the course of the last few weeks because of the administration that you are a part of and that you continue to praise. And you need to answer to those people. If it's as great as you say it is, then go out there and explain to them and make them understand why their problems are wrong and you are right, or at least listen to them and maybe fix some of the shit that's wrong in their lives.
And what you just said to me is applicable to so much more. I mean, you're absolutely right. If you're going to say that this is such a great agenda, legislative agenda and presidential agenda, then why do you have a problem facing people? And I would say the same thing holds true with redistricting. Why are you gerrymandering districts to try to get more votes in Texas and threatening to do it in other places? If it's so great, then let it stand on its merits and let the people affirm that if they're going to do that. But the fact that you're not going to do that suggests to me that you really know what you're doing, and you know that you're disenfranchising people. You know that it's only great for that select few for whom it was designed to be great, and it's not great for anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And, and I'll tell you this, something that you brought up in there, the gerrymandering situation. We had a court ruling a week or so back from the federal courts about our Senate districts, and they're racially gerrymandered, although somehow they could not see that the one in Huntsville. This drives me insane about this thing. And I wrote about this earlier this week as well. This box that Republicans have created now that they're currently in and trying to get out of, but that this ridiculous set of parameters around gerrymandering that they have set, where they both insist that racial gerrymandering does not exist. That this is, it's just so stupid. And the systemic racism is no longer a problem in America. I mean, get the fuck out of here. What world are you living in? And so what they've done is, here's how bad it is. All right. So right now you have a district in Montgomery, and we'll just stick with that for now. You have a district in Montgomery that is racially gerrymandered to the point that a Trump appointed judge has said, yeah, it's racially gerrymandered. I mean, we see it. So you need to fix that. To fix it, you're not supposed to use race. But then the solution to the racial gerrymandering is creating a district in which a majority of black voters are in that district and have a chance to choose a candidate of their choosing, So it's not racially gerrymandered, of course, because that doesn't exist anymore, but it is racially gerrymandered. And to fix it, you have to arrive at a certain racial makeup, but you can't use race to get to that racial makeup.
Yeah.
It's so that they've created this thing that's so stupid because they are trying to deny reality in so many areas. And so, it's idiotic. It's idiotic what we're doing at this point. I mean, it really is. Yep. So,
idiotic and just patently unjust.
Yeah, maybe we can get Kirkhatcher or Bobby Singleton on next week and talk about this. I'll start trying to get those guys on. I know that Kirk's district is going to be affected a bit down there because they're going to have to redo that district, but I know Bobby was also a major part of the lawsuit that has gone on against these maps and stuff. And but it's so and then again, here's the other problem that we have. We know that this thing up in Huntsville up here, you can look at it. This district up here is gerrymandered all to hell and back to get what they've got up here. All right, that district that who's the senator from up here? Butler, is it Butler's district that we're talking about? I believe it is.
You
Butler's
got Butler. District. And you've got, I'm drawing a blank on the other older gentleman's name, but yeah, you got Butler.
I'm pretty sure it's Butler's district because, that was one of the reasons he retired, because he thought that thing was gonna be changed as well. And so this is the reason why, race is the problem here. Okay. We know it's gerrymandered all to hell. Mm-hmm. Okay. We know that, but they can't figure out how to solve it. They can't figure out how to solve it because there's not enough race. There's not enough distinction between races up here to make a clear line. That's how they can't solve it because there's no race involved. So they can't just identify people in areas that are more likely to vote for Democrats than not, because there's no black section up in this area. Because Huntsville in this area up here is first dominated a lot by white people, and a lot of those white people vote for Democrats, and so there's no clear black section up in Huntsville up here that they can use as a means to draw in this district. That's the only reason Huntsville didn't get redrawn. That's it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it just, I don't know, man. It just, the insanity.
Well, it's a frustrating situation. And Like you said, I think the main problem is there's a real huge denial of reality, and they're trying to create an alternate universe, just as they have with a lot of other things, the so-called fake news, and of course the elections, and with Trump maintaining that he won an election that he didn't win, and even the crowd size. I mean, it's just that's what it's been. It's all been these created delusions. And what do you do?
Well, I'll tell you another one.
Just
Another
push
one that
back.
we saw play out this week is the Epstein stuff. Where we're just now Trump's just trying his best to create this distraction, or trying to to create various distractions to get people to forget about the fact that these ladies are out there.
Yeah,
these victims.
and Josh, answer me this, man, because this has been troubling me. He keeps saying it's a Democratic hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he says Democrat hoax.
Right.
So I choose to say it the grammatically proper way.
Right.
He says it's a Democratic hoax.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, where's the hoax? You're saying the hoax is that these women weren't subjected to what they were subjected to? Is that the hoax?
Yeah.
What's the hoax?
I don't really know, other than that sounds good to say, that it's a Democratic hoax, because, he's trying at this point to do anything he can to get away from this, because it's absolutely killing him, and rightfully so. His name is clearly all over these files. We know this. We know that his name is clearly all over this stuff, and that he has a huge problem if this stuff ever comes out. This would be the end of him. And it should be. It should be the end of him. And when these things, then they'll come out. They'll eventually plop out somewhere. Somebody will release some files, or somebody will do some hacking, something. It'll come out eventually, and we'll get to see. And people are like, well, Bill Clinton is. I don't give a shit. Put Bill Clinton under the prison. I don't care. If they did this stuff, arrest him.
Yeah.
Whoever the next president, who would make a good Democratic president, Gavin Newsom's in there. Bye bye. I don't care.
That's right.
That's right. It's so. But to what? Let me tell you a major problem I have. Well, here's the problem I have with calling it a Democratic hoax. Where the hell are the Democrats? What are you doing? You've got this major scandal. Have you heard anybody talking about this? I mean, have you heard? Are there any? Ro Khanna is the only. It's the guy that's all over the place. Ro Khanna, not the dude, not the leaders.
Yeah.
Where is Hakeem Jeffries in this deal? Where is Schumer in this deal? Where are the AOC and all the folks that are normally at the forefront of these things? Where the hell are these people?
I agree with you. I think it's a very valid question, and I think they need to answer that question. And my only concern, and I say this especially for Jeffries and Schumer, my only concern is that maybe what they're afraid of is what the fallout will be for the party because of Clinton. Because there's plenty of reporting that indicates that Clinton was very much a part of Epstein's circle.
Mm-hmm. So,
along with Trump.
If it comes out, he's going to be there anyway. So, at least you're out in front of it. At least you're saying, hey, we're going to hold everybody accountable. Do they not?
I agree with you, man.
I just don't understand why we're
not.
But
I think that's what I'm saying. I think that's I think there's a real fear. The Democratic Party's already struggling. Mm-hmm. Nationally with fundraising, with image, with the National Democratic Party is not in a really healthy place right now, and I think they're probably afraid that whatever comes out is going to do further damage. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Which is why I think they're being quiet. But I agree with you. That's not the right strategy. The strategy should be put sunlight on it, let the chips fall where they may, and make it clear where they stand. The people will respect that more than you cowering in the shadows because you're afraid of what the implications may be if we find out that Bill Clinton was, engaged in some nasty behavior.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I don't understand why there's not somebody like me saying, We don't care. We want this to be right. We want to know we want to get to the bottom of this, and we don't care who's there. And if you did bad things, then you're going to be punished for those bad things. And we don't care what little letter is out beside your name. If you're a Democrat and you did these things, and you need to be punished. It's the same way as we've punished other people for doing, Robert Menendez and some of these other folks that we've punished for doing the wrong things. We've held folks accountable, and we're going to continue to do that. We're the party of accountability, and we're going to make sure that we're the party of actual law and order in this country, and that we're going to make sure that we do the right stuff and hold folks accountable, especially those people who hurt children and take advantage of
That's
children
right.
and do these things. And I just wrote your message. You know what I mean? I mean,
There it is. There it is. Yeah.
For God's sakes, get out. How is Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna the people that are leading the charge? I don't understand. And you've got them on their heels, but you've done nothing, and you've got them on their heels. Give them a push. They'll topple right over. You give them a push.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, it just, oh my God, it drives me nuts, man. Oh, it just drives me absolutely insane that, and this is, there's obviously politics involved in this, but this is outside of politics. It's just the right thing to do at this point.
Exactly.
You saw these people standing at this press conference. Go and talk to them and get them the list and publish it.
And I think what it really speaks to, what we're really pointing out now and highlighting now, is the impotence of the party.
Yes.
I mean, and that's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way. And I know that there are probably a lot of Democrats that may, you mentioned AOC earlier. I've only watched her on TV like most of the rest of us, but I will say she seems to be a principled person. Mm-hmm. So my only assumption is that, they must be pressuring her not to take a stand, because this issue, you would think of all issues, that AAC would be right at the front of this one. You would think that.
Yeah, no, you would. I mean, we have this thing is being led. Listen, the majority of Americans agree with them on this. Okay. So when I say being led, they're leading a very, very popular foray into trying to get these documents, things released. It's being led by Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. These are the people in Congress who are leading this effort here, who you see on TV all the time talking about it. If you're a sane person, if you are in any way a sane person, you have the leg up immediately among the media folks who would go to you and talk to you constantly. All right? Go out there and do something. God say, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to chase these people to the end of the damn earth, and we're going to make sure that they pay a price for this. Look at all the Democrats who have already signed up for this thing. We are chasing this. We're doing what the Republicans won't do because we are the actual party of law and order. We're going to make sure that if you hurt kids, we're going to hold you accountable for those things. And we don't care if you're a Democrat or not. But there may be some Democrats in here. There may be some Democratic donors in here. Too bad. You're going down. If we find out you've done this and we can punish you, then we're going to punish you, and we're going to expose you to the American people as a wrongdoer in this instance.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's going to happen regardless. Do y'all not see this? It's going to happen regardless. Anyways. All right. It just drives me.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, you're right. Yeah.
All right, right-wing nut. Our right-wing nut this week is Dustin Beattie, who's running for the House of Representatives in the state of Alabama. He's from Walker County, so something screwed up immediately. Mr. Beattie has presented
Well, before you go on, can you just, because there may be some people who are wondering, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that it's screwed up? It's automatically screwed up.
Just go and Google Walker County. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Just Google Walker County. You're gonna Walker County problems. Just Google that up. Okay. And then I think you'll have your answers there. And first of all, if you're wanting to read about them, set aside some time because you're going to need a minute, because it's, from the jailhouse murder, by the jailhouse staff of an inmate, in which now, 20 or so people have been indicted. The sheriff's office that is setting new standards for corruption every day under Nick Smith, who himself is going to be indicted at some point in the very near future, and has already been, has already been indicted for other problems. To just the bevy of problems that typically go along with Walker County, which was for a number of years the national leader in opioid addiction and death, which is nothing to laugh and joke joke about, as the people in Walker County will tell you, they have been devastated by this. Which brings us back to Dustin Beattie, who's running for the State House. Beattie is a pharmacist, and once a while back, I'd say 15 or so years or so now, 16 years, Dustin Beattie was caught, I guess you should say, or we would say, and entered rehab with an addiction issue for opioids. And you say, like, well, listen, man, that was going around. It happens to people. It has. It happens to folks in my family. I'm sure it's happened to people in your family. That opioid is a terrible, terrible drug that people have been addicted to. It has destroyed families and lives, and is certainly an illness. Unlike crack, which was just for fun and stuff, and was never an addiction issue because it didn't happen as much for white people. But opioids are absolutely an addiction, a sickness, and an illness that must be addressed, and rightfully so it is. And the problem is with Mr. Beattie is that the addiction story, in which he has told this story repeatedly, in which he had a problem. He fell on his sword and self-reported himself to the Alabama Pharmacy Board, gave up his license. His license was suspended for a period of years, and then he, came back and, cleaned himself up and got himself back right and got everything working again. What he leaves out of that is this. He was not simply an addict at that time. And some people have questioned whether or not he was actually an addict. But we'll leave it at that because and I'll say I don't say that lightly. That has come from other pharmacists who have known pharmacists who have claimed that they were addicts to avoid penalties for selling, because the pharmacy board would basically give you a one-time pass as an addict if you entered a rehab program, and they would not pursue criminal charges. And that's what happened with Mr. Beattie. He was caught selling these opioids out the back of his pharmacy. This is in addition to the legal sales that he did. These came from DEA numbers now, okay?
Yeah.
The DEA numbers on his pharmacy was legally, he sold in a 6-year span more than 5 million opioid pills to people in Walker County. I mean, listen, doctors wrote those prescriptions. Leslie, he filled them. Okay, so he was filling them, but that is enough for every man, woman, and child in Walker County to have 11 pills per day for 6 years. Okay, wow. That was the legal sales. And then he sold thousands of pills, allegedly, out the back door. They had 4 named individuals in the documents before the pharmacy board that he sold illegally to, and then they also put in there the stipulation unknown. Now there was conversations had APR, and APR wrote about this, and Bill Britt wrote it and talked to investigators that worked narcotics at the time. And they were building a case against Mr. Beattie. They knew that he was selling these things because the way they figured it out was they found a couple of those giant pharmacy bottles. Not the ones you get from the big ones, the one that come from the pharmaceutical companies to the drugstore. They found some of those in possession of people that they busted, and so they knew that that they had a pharmacist involved in this, and they said it didn't take them long to figure out that it was Beattie, and that they were working a case and building up to him. They said, at the time, that it was, things were just out of control at that. He said, God, I actually spoke to at one point, said they were running 10 search warrants a week, some weeks, on these places. And he said, you have no idea how many that is if you're not in law enforcement. He said, it's a ton. He said, but narcotics it was just all the time constant because of the overwhelming problem that we had with opioids in Walker County. He said, and really there have been studies that showed that Walker County had a higher instance of opioid use than any other location in the country at that time. They had more addiction, more death than any other place in the country. They had 250 people die in a span of about 10 years there from overdoses. For a small county like Walker County, man, that's a ton of damn people, okay?
Yeah, because they're only I was just looking it up, there are only 65,000 people there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people.
In the whole county, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so and the problem was is they as they were trying to build this case, they had all that going on, and they could never really come up with a reliable person to build the case against him. And then the feds came in and kind of he cut a deal with the pharmacy board there to, to surrender his license, go into rehab, and do all that. And listen, I'm perfectly happy that the man is apparently clean, not doing this stuff anymore. All that, it's great. It's great. But don't sell it like you weren't part of the problem. You were part of the problem.
Right.
You were. You did this to people, and I mean, and and I don't know. I've talked to a number of pharmacists over the course of the last few weeks. Just trying to Bill was working on this, and it just trying to gauge what they thought about just the legal sales about things. And, a lot of, there were differing opinions, and, and they were saying, that was a different time because of some say it was a different time. You did have a higher rate of those prescriptions and stuff. And people weren't in some cases as educated as we are now about the dangers and stuff. And, it's like, but he said, at a point also, hey, well, I had one pharmacist tell me flat out, look, I every time that I went and subbed in Walker County, I ended up having to go before a grand jury a few months later because I had to bust somebody for using a fake prescription, a forged prescription. And,
wow.
And they were just like, so there's no, I think some people viewed it either how, listen, it may have been a problem with the times, caught in that time, or there was no middle ground really. Or it was, this guy knew this, everybody knew what was going on, and he had to know that he was selling some bad, to some people with some bad prescriptions. Had to know it or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can't sell $5.5 million and not know it. And listen, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this. Okay. It's not, I guess maybe I shouldn't say it's not his job to decipher whether or not it's a forged prescription. But if especially if other pharmacists can do it, but I don't know what those things look like. I don't know, what, if they were forged, if they weren't, so I'm benefit of the doubt, innocent until proven guilty on that particular part of it. But at the same time, man, you can't just portray it as, I was just an addict. And when you were selling all these things out the back door and, and not presenting it that way, I mean, say you made some mistakes, say you did this. I mean, people will forgive you for those things, but they're not going to forgive you if it's a phony sort of redemption thing.
Well, was he ever, so he was never charged?
He was never charged. I have no idea how he avoided criminal charges, because you read these documents, man, from the pharmacy board, and it is clear as day that man sold these pills. And, the audit that came about, according to the investigators, revealed, he was missing thousands of pills. He couldn't account for them. That was one of the charges from the pharmacy board, was that the records that were kept there were so poor that he couldn't keep thousands of pills.
Well, he needs to be accountable, completely accountable for his behavior in that regard. As far as I'm concerned, I know I wouldn't vote for, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, Independent. I wouldn't vote for anybody who apparently had been involved with that without some real accountability and an understanding of what his culpability was. And did he pay the same legal price that other people would pay if they were selling crack or heroin or
no, not even
cocaine
close.
Or marijuana? And if not, why not?
Yeah, no, not even close. Not even close. And I would argue that it's far worse. This is a man of means doing this. You know what I mean? And, and listen, you can say, well, I had an addiction issue and I was feeding that addiction issue. Okay, but you need to say that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can't present this as, I was just a poor addict and I got over that and moved on. Tell the whole story here and talk about what happened. And that was the problem. And to Bill's credit, he called the man and said, hey, listen, I've got these questions. The guy told him, hey, listen, I got a dinner I got to go to, and can we do this? Can we sit down and talk about this tomorrow? And Bill said, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that. Ghosted him. Completely ghosted him. Never talked to him about it. I ran from it. And that's,
bad sign.
Yeah, no, it is. And it just, I don't know. Like I said, I hope that he is the person that he portrays himself as, but whoever advised him, or if he decided to do it on his own and to kind of, skirt around the issues and stuff, It's not a good way to go, man. I don't think people will believe you. People will forgive you if you are, if you present everything and ask for that forgiveness. Everybody makes mistakes, certainly, but you can't do it this way. You just can't.
Nope.
All righty, let's get out of here. Till next week, y'all be safe out there.
Peace.